Welcome to this episode of Let's Be Civil. Today, Julia Stevens joins me on Let's Be Civil. Julia Stevens' career is focused on recruiting and developing emerging talent and early career employees, predominantly in the construction industry. In 2012, Julia joined Constructionarium on a part-time basis. In February 2019, she became the chief executive for Constructionarium. She was appointed to the board of Constructionarium in May 2020. Okay, everyone, welcome to, I guess I'm going to say, our first international episode of Let's Be Civil. Julia's with me here today, and she's actually in the UK, and she'll tell us specifically where she is. And you're going to notice behind her is a unique little picture. So we are probably going to have a two-parter conversation with Julia about not only today her and the work that she does, but more about that image behind her. I've had an opportunity to go over to the UK and be involved in the work that she does, which is called Constructionarium. And I am going to do something here real quick, Julia. Hopefully this will work when we put this thing to up on YouTube. Do you see the screen share there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so there's hopefully everyone else will see this. I'm not sure if it's going to be recorded correctly or not, because I haven't tried it before. But up on the screen is Constructionarium webpage. So I'm gonna take that down because we want to stay focused on the task at hand here. And that's our conversation. But Constructionarium is a program that students can get involved with, and it's predominantly students in the UK, but the ones from our university, and I won't mention the other Texas school that has been there, but there's been another Texas school that's participated. So Julia, welcome. Why don't you give us a little background about yourself and maybe a couple seconds about what Constructionarium is, so that when we have our conversation, there's some context and
Sure.
people will understand what we're referring to.
Sure. Many thanks, John.
Yeah.
And thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to talk to you on this. Very kind of you to think of us. So my name's Julia Stevens. I'm the Chief Exec of Constructionarium. Constructionarium is a not-for-profit organisation which provides experiential learning to students studying built environment. As John's already alluded to, over a 6-day period, students build one of the scaled-down projects, iconic projects from around the world, such as the one behind, which is the Brewery Wharf Footbridge, or the Gherkin or Malau Viaduct, some significant 30-foot structure. And really enables the students to contextualise the theory that they get at university and apply it in a practical way, in a safe way, and in a controlled way. So we make sure everybody goes home safe and sound.
And this
In terms of my background, I'm an HR professional by trade. I've spent most of my career recruiting and developing emerging talent, whether that be from school leavers up to graduates. I've recruited over 1,200 graduates in my career in a wide range of organisations and industries, and by far the most has been within the construction industry. I first got involved in Constructionarium when I worked for Lang O'Rourke, and I managed their education programme. And so for me, having the opportunity to use Constructionarium as a way to assess potential candidates coming into the organisation was a really tremendous tool. It far outweighs any form of desktop assessment centre you could possibly have. And so my passion is about youngsters, helping them on their journey, their career, and that's something that I'm still sort of involved in different charitable type activities in the UK.
And so the focus of the what word do you use to describe what Constructionarium is? I know it's a nonprofit, but is there a one word or 2 words?
There's a couple really. I mean, it's a not-for-profit. We provide experiential learning.
Okay.
So it's turning that theory into practice,
Right.
Which we do every time.
Right. And that's really that is really the root of this, was so that students had some experience beyond just doing calculations in the classroom. They saw their calculations and things come to life. Essentially is what's happening.
Absolutely. It was created back in 2003 by our honorary president, who really felt that universities weren't producing graduates that he could use fit for purpose for his work on a construction site here in the UK. So he really threw down a challenge to academia and said, this is not good. I need to spend 3 months getting these people site ready. And so Imperial College, along with Expedition Engineering, came up with this concept of the Experiential Learning Week, which has now been adopted by around 23 universities, and also industry have used it as a way to develop their teams, embed their induction processes and health and safety behaviours and values and so on and so forth. And it's also used by companies for summer schools. So where they've got students who are in between years, it gives them an opportunity to embed the behaviours and values as well.
So you are now chief executive, but you weren't previously. So speak a little bit about your evolution to the position you're in right now.
Sure. So as I say, I first got involved back in, must be 2005, 2006, something like that. And we partnered with 3 universities in the UK. And then my career went off in a slightly different direction. I was head of HR education training at the Concrete Society, which is a membership organisation. And sometimes I think that if you cut me in half, I've got such a passion for concrete that there's the HR bit and then there's also concrete inside, which is a bit strange, I suppose. And then I came back into the industry and was working for Constructionarium on a 2-day-a-week basis as a consultant, as a development manager. So going out and creating new relationships with industry and universities. And the other 3 days I was the global head of talent learning development for Edwards, which is a vacuum manufacturing company. Not quite as interesting or as fun as Constructionarium, I have to say, but nevertheless gave me the opportunity to work on a global scale and across many different time zones. And the opportunity arose in 2018, at the end of 2018, for me to step up a gear. We had some internal organisation, and it was then my responsibility to look after the business, but still on a 2-day-a-week basis as a development manager. And we had some challenges that we needed to overcome, as a lot of organisations do. And then at the end of that year, the board very kindly offered me the position of chief exec on a full-time basis. Now, I'm really lucky. I love my job. I think I've got the best job in the world. So it was a no-brainer, really, to take that up. And I've not looked back. So I just enjoy it so much. The board very kindly appointed me as a director a couple of months ago. So that's the latest news. So whilst I'm chief exec, I'm also one of the directors of the company, which is fantastic. And the board that we have is made up with some fantastic people from academia and from industry. And I have to say, I'm really lucky in the fact that I've got such a supportive board who are very keen to develop and move us forward as an organisation. So whilst we've been traditionally an organisation that has taken 2D drawings and encouraged the students to use that as part of their development, the board are very supportive in terms of us looking at modern methods of construction, the net zero agenda, the digitalisation, BIM modelling, you know, all those sort of things. And so we now have a bit of a plan going forward about how we can move us over the next 2 or 3 years to reflect more about what's happening around the world in construction.
Sure. So before all of our COVID-19 kicked in and disrupted everybody's lives, let's talk a little bit about what your day-to-day life was like, the things that you were doing once you stepped into the chief exec position. What was a typical, even if there is a typical day for you, what was one like?
I would say there probably hasn't been a typical day, to be perfectly honest, because we are a little known organisation. You know, we are a small, very lean and agile organisation, not for profit. But we offer best in class in terms of development opportunities for students and professionals. And so my time's been very much spent promoting the organisation, getting new people engaged, developing the business, providing some a cohesive structure to how we want to operate going forward, making sure that we've got that stability financially to be able to implement some of the stuff that we want to do, searching for new funding streams and new partners. Now, whether that's, you know, been through the EU or through organisations in the UK, trying to find out, you know, where that money is sitting is not easy at all. So that's quite time consuming. And also engaging with the customers in terms of the students that come along. So when we're open, at least once a week, I'm up on site talking to the students. I love it. I love hearing their stories. I love hearing about their development. I love hearing the fact that they didn't realise this is what construction was like. For many of them, they've not been out on site at all. So the whole experience of working in the fresh air, picking up a hammer and applying, you know, hitting the nail is all a bit scary for them. The way that they gel as a team, the projects are run as a team of between about 15 to 23 people, depending on the customer. And each of those teams have a organisation structure. So there's somebody that they appoint in charge, there's health and safety, there's defined roles. And so it's fascinating to see the team dynamics, because whilst these students are getting that practical experience, they are definitely getting the employability skills that they need for when they leave university. And I can speak from that, you know, from experience, because that's what I used to do, was to recruit graduates. And I can promise you, every single competency question that there is can be answered through a week's experience at Constructionarium. There's no question that can't be.
Well, and we'll be able, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's just such a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And when we have our follow-up conversation, we'll get into, you know, some of the details, just for people to be, I mean, because it's fascinating. There's not a lot of, I think the closest thing that maybe I would relate to in the US would be like summer sports camps.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. Go for a week and you're going to be around professionals that are in this field, and they're going to help you learn something about actually doing, you know, it's experiential and improving your skill set. But this is civil engineering. I mean, it's kind of like civil engineering summer camp. Except for, you know, it happens, you know, over a longer stretch of time. So you actually work from home.
I do.
And so things in that regard haven't changed for you, but your home life has changed, right? So
Absolutely.
maybe
Absolutely.
speak a little bit about how is it working from home and trying to do your chief exec work now that you have guests in your house.
It's been very interesting. Yeah, I mean the UK lockdown in beginning of March or middle March, and so my fiance, he's working in the front room. He's a telecoms design engineer. My son has been working out of his bedroom. He's a researcher for Imperial College in London in their chemistry department, and so that's been quite interesting. He's also been just recently going into work for 5 days and then 5 days working from home, and they've sort of managed that for the social distancing side. So there's a bit of worrying concern about him going up on the train every day into London, but he's been okay so far. And then we have our daughter in her bedroom. She's a student currently at Loughborough University doing international business. So we picked her up just before lockdown, brought her home, and she's completed her second year of study. She's decided not to do her industrial placement in marketing next year, but take the opportunity for the last 2 weeks and the next 2 weeks to do a short course through Harvard Business School on business studies. So she's up there doing that. So the internet suffers a little bit, I have to say, but it's absolutely lovely to be able to have people to talk to in my work environment rather than just the cat, who I'm surprised he hasn't made an appearance already, as he normally likes to.
So did you get to keep your spot in the house where you normally work from, or
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I'm in the kitchen at the moment, and everybody else is dotted around. And one of the things that I've been looking at having is actually a home office built. And wish I'd really got round to it last year, but I didn't have time to focus on it last year, but it would have been a lot handy. And the investment in a green screen has been good fun as well.
Oh, so you have invested in one, or you're going to?
No, this is a green screen, so I can change the backgrounds. Yeah.
So I've actually contemplated that myself. So this is our home office. My wife and I have this space. I will point out that this is my replica Lewis Hamilton helmet is right there.
Yeah.
And then these are anybody that's watched any others. I have these up in the background because this is I'm from Wisconsin, state of Wisconsin. So these are Wisconsin sports teams. But if anybody if they didn't notice previously that there was a new helmet there, that's my Lewis Hamilton helmet. My younger son got that for me for a Christmas gift.
Yeah, lovely.
I really like it.
Yeah.
But from in the U.S. or I don't even need to. I think I say the U.S. But in a more traditional chief executive role, you would be, top floor of an office building, big office, administrative assistants, and such. And in this case, you have that title, you have those kind of responsibilities, but you're working from home.
Yeah.
And under the circumstances that we're in today, you have much smaller group of people that are associated with you now. So what's it like being in charge? I mean, does it ever kind of cross your mind? I'm sitting at home and I'm in charge of this thing, but I'm in my kitchen, and you mentioned that you go out and you travel to the site and some things like that. So it's not like you're in the home all the time, but when someone hears chief exec, they have this image, I think, of this big office and top floor and stuff like that. So, so what's it like being in that role but working from home?
I love it, absolutely love it. We are a small, lean and agile organisation, so we're not a massive corporate organisation. At our peak, at December, we probably were around 10 staff, to be perfectly honest. So the company had grown quite a lot over the last 12 months, 18 months, because we needed to put things in place to make sure that we were operating correctly, and maximising our assets, to be perfectly honest. But I'm really fortunate in the fact that we have, as Constructionarium, some fantastic relationships with people like yourselves, and so keeping in contact with our customers, introducing new customers to the concept of what we do, talking to industry partners to help keep the cost down, and to share my experience of recruiting people through Constructionarium, makes the life, you know, so much fun. And yes, you're absolutely right, we need to be mindful of the strategy and the direction and the how we can ensure that we've got some financial stability going forward, and how we can maximise on all the assets that we've got, and how we can move the business forward to be as true as we can be for what's happening in the industry. So there's lots of new conversations that we're having. Just this week, we've talked to a company about digitalisation, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they're going to help us move all our projects to 3D, 4D, maybe even 5D tools, so we can help prepare the students even more, so when they graduate they're going to be more effective. And that's always coming back to Steph's premise of, you know, I need people who can hit the floor running, and do the job that they need to do. So if we can bring some of those skill sets into the week, and enhance what we offer to the students, then that can only be a good thing. And then learning about net zero and decarbonisation. One of the things that we wanted to do is make sure that we are as carbon neutral as possible going forward in the long term. It's not something that we can do overnight, I'm afraid. But we've started. We have a project called the Gherkin, and we've been able to take out, maybe unfortunately I should say, all the concrete from that particular project. But we've put in some new design challenges for the students. So it is a digitalised project. It is exactly the same size and dimensions as our current project that we have up at Birch and Newton on our site in North Norfolk. But it is, it's got some new challenges to test and stretch the students. So that's good fun. So learning about new things that I would never have probably been exposed to in an HR capacity. Has been great for my own development. Sitting in on conversations and webinars, and understanding more about the industry and the terminology has been fantastic.
So it sounds to me that the role you're in has got a level of responsibility that's very high. I mean, you know, the buck stops with you, basically.
It does.
But the structure that you have is giving you the flexibility, and I think I would say the comfort to go out and try different things and take different paths, and not worry about if it doesn't work out, that's okay. Well, at least we tried it. Am I sensing that correctly?
Absolutely. And the net zero option is exactly that. So we have done three things. We've started to do some webinars on net zero, which have been bought by academia and industry, and they're delivered by our chairman Keith Clark, and he talks about the effects of net zero on the industry and what we all need to do, and the fact that we need to do it now. It's not something that's coming along. We need to take action now. And we've also acted as a repository for all the fantastic work that's been going on in the UK. And so if you go to our website, onto the net zero page, you'll see this lexicon of activities that people are going, because there isn't a central place where you can say, oh, I wonder what so-and-so is doing, or, you know, you have to go and search it out individually. And this gives you just a place to signpost to all these different organisations. And the third thing that sits alongside that is a app that we are in the process of developing. From my background in learning development, you know, we've all sat at a laptop and had to do hour-long courses and then do a little test at the end to make sure we've understood the information. And things have changed. You know, the way people learn has really changed, especially if you're working now. You don't have that luxury to sit down for an hour. And so what we've done is created this app where it will be a mixture of podcasts, videos, infographics, text, but all in sort of 5-minute bite-sized chunks of learning. So if you need to understand, you know, why cows fart and the problems that causes, you know, you'd be able to get the subject matter on it. It's going to be delivered by a series of influencers. So we've had quite a lot of fun going out and talking to people and getting their engagement on it.
Right.
And we've also had a lot of fun talking to industry to get them to adopt this app as well. And that would be run off of laptops and off of mobile phones to fit in with people's lives, really, you know, because you don't have that luxury. It's aimed at anybody from CEO down to Joe sitting in the white van on the drive, because what we want to do is actually upskill everybody in the built environment to say, you know, this is something that needs to happen, now, and, you know, hopefully it might alter the way you do your day-to-day activities and your day-to-day work, your day-to-day decision-making process, because you're more knowledgeable about the topic. We had hoped to have had it launched by now, but obviously things aren't quite the same. So by the end of the year, hopefully it will be available. And that's been so exciting to go through that sort of project management process. We've done some surveys through professional institute magazines over here in the UK to understand and test the knowledge level of people. So we can start to pitch the topics at the right pace.
You're right.
Yeah, and so that's, you know, really diverse for what we do is our core model, but so interesting and hopefully be so beneficial to everybody across the built environment.
So you started in 2005, right?
Yeah.
And when did Constructionarium actually start? Was it 2000? I mean, were you there from the very beginning?
2003.
Okay.
2003.
So you've been there pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, I had about 7 years where I wasn't involved. But
okay. Do you think about legacy at all? You are, you know, what you're doing, you know, in whatever chunks along the way and whatever roles along the way. Constructionarium is unique, and the impact that you're having on these students and professionals. So does that creep into your mind at all, that I'm doing something here that is very different from what anybody else is doing, and the part of me is going to be left behind? Does that thought cross your mind?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. And we're so lucky in the fact that we keep in contact with, not all of them, but a lot of the people that have come through us. We've got a Constructionarium alumni page on LinkedIn, and so we're able to keep in contact and monitor people's progress. It's also fantastic to see their career journeys, and how they will say it had such an impact on my career that it made me decide, you know, I was going to go into consulting engineering, but actually, you know, I realized that contracting is what I want to do, and vice versa. And so to see and follow those individuals' journeys and their careers, that they're now directors of so and so, or you know, construction managers, or they set their own business up, is just fantastic. And you know, when you talk about job satisfaction, that is got to be up there. The fact that you've played a very small part in their careers is a real privilege. Absolutely, real privilege.
I was going to say it's the kind of thing that helps you get up in the morning, right?
Always.
When you know that that's going to. So we got a couple seconds here left. Tell us about what you do outside of work. Give us just a little snapshot into, because one of the dangers of working from home, and I'm sure you've probably fallen into it, is it's easy to sit down and work, right? At any hour of the day or any day of the week. So what do you do outside of work?
So family is really important to me. So spending time with them is really key. I'm really lucky that the kids are lovely, and we have a great family relationship. So very privileged in that respect. Since lockdown, I've been walking every day with my physio. She lives in another town, and we tend to walk for about an hour and a half, 2 hours every day, talking on the phone. It's amazing that you can think that you can talk for that long, but I'm not too sure what that says about me. So that's quite good to try and keep fit during these difficult times. And then I also do online Zumba. Been doing Zumba for about 4 years now. I'm absolutely hopeless at it. There's myself and 3 other ladies that are always at the back of the class. I'm the one that's always laughing at my own inability to be able to do it. However, I have to say I've improved since I've been at home, and I'm putting it down very much to my fluffy slippers. And I've warned the coach that when we're back in face-to-face scenarios, then my slippers are going to be making an appearance.
Well, so did you feel a little more relaxed at home to sort of just let yourself go, and so that you've just naturally improved as a consequence?
Well, perhaps, but okay. I'm not too sure. I'm still laughing every time I do it. So it can only be a good thing.
Well, so at some point in time, maybe we'll do this off camera. You can show us your skill set. So.
Absolutely no way. That's not going to happen. Okay. I'll just put that out there right now. Okay. No way.
Okay. Well, we're at the end of our time. This has been a great conversation, and I actually want to encourage people to look for our follow-up conversation about where we'll just talk about almost. I think maybe the way to go about it is students, how do they get involved at their university, and then what happens when they actually arrive on site, and what's a day like for them, and maybe take, and I've got pictures from when we were out there, and I know you'll have lots of them. We can talk about, what kind of images to share, make sure we can share them and people will see them. But that'll be really fascinating. I think that seeing, sitting in on that conversation for people, they'll be fascinated by it. And you don't have to be an engineer, you don't have to be a civil engineer, construction or anything. I think it's a fascinating, outstanding program, and I'm glad we had the opportunity to be involved. And I'm hoping that we will be, again, now that we're launched of our own program. So. I want to thank you. It's really early here. I mean, relatively speaking. I know it's later there. You get to go off and end your day and have some dinner, and I'm just getting started. So.
Well, thank you, John, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Love talking to you as always, and thank you.